Hello vinyl community, it's Mike MGK Boston back with a video here on a early Thursday evening. At least, yeah, it is last time I checked my calendar, Eastern Standard Time. So today, just gonna do basically a summer 2023 finds. Shopping was kind of intermittent, but I did more record shopping this summer than I would normally, just due to the really crappy weather we had this summer. We had a lot of rain. So like clockwork, kind of typically you finish the work week Friday, and then the clouds roll in and then it rains on Saturday. So, well, it's good for record shopping, I guess, right? You're not going to get a sunburn. Anyway, and then the past couple weeks, a couple weeks ago, I pinched a nerve in my neck. So that was really terrible, on my shoulders, the whole thing. Basically for about 8 to 10 days, it felt like I was wearing a medieval torture device on my back. So I couldn't do any running, couldn't lift my weights. So all I was doing was running to the chiropractor. But the guy I've got, he's really good. And running like I have since high school, I get the odd ache and pain now in my mid-50s. It just comes with the territory, right? But I'm glad I'm still vertical. Beats the alternative, right? So anyway, yeah, so as recent as last Saturday, I went out just quickly. And these are all from the same store. I've mentioned this store before. It's a local shop here where I live out in Metro West section of Boston, and it's nothing's priced. You just kind of grab a pile and you go up and you kind of haggle with the owner, this crazy old German lady, and she's a real riot. So anyway, I did get some good stuff this summer. It's going to lean heavily toward classic rock. This isn't my usual eclectic mix, but let's see where we end up here. So anyway, yeah. Start with a little rockabilly here, right? It's the debut from Robert Gordon, released in 1977 with the legendary guitarist Link Wray, who often collaborated with Robert Gordon. I've got this one, another one called Fresh Fish Special, and then another Robert Gordon with the green cover. I can't think of the name of that one offhand. Does a great Springsteen cover on that one too, and it's I'm on Fire, maybe he does a version of that. Anyway, there he is on the back. There's Robert Gordon, and there's Link Wray. So look at he's rocking that pompadour, right? So basically, if you don't know Robert Gordon, he was kind of the precursor to the Blasters out of California and the Stray Cats, kind of like a rockabilly, basically first era rock and roll, like Carl Perkins and Chuck Berry. They were reinventing that whole sound and bringing it back. So yeah, he was from New York City, Robert Gordon. He just passed, I want to say, about a year ago. Yeah, and he put out quite a few records. Like I said, I've got 3, and I think now with this debut, I'm pretty solid because it gets a little repetitious. But he does have a really good voice, and it suits the genre, right? A rockabilly. So on this one, Red Hot opens it up. That's a cover. They do a version of Summertime Blues on here, which is great. When I say they, it's because Link Wray's guesting in here on lead guitar. And then he's right there. Credit there to Link. So, and then It's in the Bottle's another good one too on this one. So that's Robert Gordon's self-titled debut with Link Wray. All right, so where are we at now here? Yeah, so I was really happy to find this. I'm a huge Eric Clapton guy, but a lot of my stuff's on CD. I actually didn't have a copy of this one. This is, of course, Derek and the Dominoes. Anybody that knows rock and roll, you know what this is. Double LP set. So yeah, featuring the late great Duane Allman. There's Duane right there. There's Eric hamming it up, having a little pipe action, it looks like. So yeah, this is really excellent. And this band was culled from, Clapton had moved to the States for a few years at this point. He was living in South Florida. This is Delaney and Bonnie, of course, right, it says on the cover, with Eric Clapton. So a lot of the sidemen in this band were part of this band, Derek and the Dominoes. And then, of course, like I said, this is a double LP set. I mean, Bell Bottom Blues, that's a classic rock radio staple, but there's some other ones on here you don't hear all the time. Tell the Truth is really great. When you see Clapton solo do that live, that's one of my favorite Clapton solo tracks. Again, Tell the Truth, the name of that. And of course, Layla does a version here of Jimi Hendrix's Little Wing as well. So it's Derek and the Dominoes' debut from 1970. All right. And then followed up, he did do a self-titled solo album just called Eric Clapton. I do not have that in any physical format. I'd like to get it, but I just don't have it. My Eric Clapton collection leans, I've got all the Cream, and the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers album that he did, and Blind Faith, of course, with Steve Winwood, and Ginger Baker. I've got that one too. But no one can ever show it. You can never show that cover because if you know that cover for that Blind Faith album, it's kind of controversial. So I'm not going to show that. But anyway, here we're taking a trip down to Miami to 461 Ocean Boulevard right there. There's Eric right there, nice beach house hanging out. I don't know if that was his place where he was living when he was doing all this recording. So between the time of Derek and the Dominoes and this release in 1974, which again is his second solo album, he was fighting a nasty heroin addiction. Any heroin addiction's nasty. It's not the common cold. And then he got away from that, thankfully, and made a comeback with this. And this album arguably would set the tone for all of his solo work going forward after this. It's laid back, blues, radio friendly in some cases on this. The cover of I Shot the Sheriff, that's a classic rock radio staple. Of course, Bob Marley. Bob Marley did the original of that one, but there's some other good stuff on there. There's a cover of Willie and the Hand Jive on here, Steady Rollin' Man. I Can't Hold Out is a really good one on this. Not my favorite on the album, but it's second only to Let It Grow. Let It Grow is probably my favorite on this album. I just really love that song, and I really love this album. I'm glad I got it, and this one's in really good condition. Here's the handsome young man right there, Eric Clapton in 1974. Beautiful gatefold sleeve on this one, and looks like I had to replace the inner sleeve. And of course, he was part of the Robert Stigwood organization at the time, and that's RSO as it was known throughout the 1970s. I don't know who bought the rights to the RSO stuff, but there were a lot of artists on that label. Maybe someone, if you know that trivia, could chime in the comments on that. Again, who bought the RSO catalog? All right. Again, like I said, this is going to lean heavy classic rock, and I meant what I said. It's Aerosmith's debut. They're the bad boys from Boston, right here where I sit, right? So this is the debut, the year on this one, 1973. Yeah, there they are right there. There's the Glimmer Twins right there. Steven Tyler right there, and Joe Perry and the rest of the lads. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you don't know this one, you've really been living under a rock, as the saying goes. I mean, Walking the Dog, Mama Kin. I remember in Canada at one point, there was a cover band called Mama Kin. Don't know if they're from the States. I grew up in a border town, and I saw that band more than once in Ottawa called Mama Kin. But that was way back in the late 80s, early 90s. Probably long gone by now. Dream On, of course, was the huge one on this one, and you hear that all the time. But I just, I've heard a lot of these songs before, but when you play this album right through, it sounds really good, and it's a great listen. And I got a really clean copy of this. The jacket's worn, but it's a really clean copy, and that's Aerosmith's debut. Didn't get Your Wings, the second album, but then I got the third album on the same visit that same day, and that's right here, and it's Toys in the Attic. There they are, looking a little more mature at this point. This is 1975, so it's 2 years after the debut. I like this one better than the debut. It's just loaded. You've got Toys in the Attic, the title track is great. I love Uncle Salty, of course, Walk This Way, Sweet Emotion, No More, No More. That's a really great one too, No More, No More. Wish you heard that a little more on classic rock radio, but now with corporate programming, there's all sense of imagination is out the window. That's why I've always listened pretty much to I like college radio, and I still listen to a lot of it. I stream through my phone. A lot of the stuff has free apps. Like I'm a regular with UC Berkeley, KALX. They have a free app. So there's just a little side note if you wanted to do a little campus radio listening yourself. So again, KALX. So that's Aerosmith's third album, and that's Toys in the Attic. All right. Jumping away from classic rock for a minute, little 80s pop alternative, if you will, from England. It's Haircut 100. So this was my scene in the 80s. I was into alternative, new wave, a bit of punk, but I never had this. I had a recording of it. I recorded it on a cassette from a friend of mine, never had a physical copy of my own. And I saw this for a few bucks, and it was in great shape, so I grabbed it, featuring the vocal stylings of Nick Hayward. If you like English beat, you would really dig these guys because it's a similar aesthetic. They got a horn section. This dude right here, what's his name here? Mark Ilford, or Mark Fox right here. This sax player, he's great. Guys look like they're about 15 years old, don't they? They look so young. We're just so old now, so that's why everybody looks young, right? So, and it's a long play on 33 1/3. So there are two really hot singles on this one, and they're right out of the gate. Albums of Love Plus One, and then it follows up with Favorite Shirts, but not to be lost here. There's some other good stuff on here. Love's Got Me in Triangles, Fantastic Day, to name a couple of other tracks here. And so again, there on the back, the band right there, and that's Haircut 100, and the name of that record, Pelican West. Really good. If you ever see that and you like that kind of music, grab it. That's a fun album. All right, we're really shifting gears. I wonder if Dickie Betts ever listened to Haircut 100. I'm willing to bet he did not. So I've already shown this one before. Just wanted to show it because this was his debut. Of course, Dickie Betts, lead guitarist for the Allman Brothers Band. Name of that one, Highway Call. I got that one probably back in June, but then I was lucky enough last Saturday, saw this one. This is with the full band. He now called Dickie Betts and Great Southern. So this album featured pretty much the same personnel. These guys, facial hair was not an option. It was mandatory. If you played in a band with Dickie Betts, you had to have facial hair. Clearly that was one of the rules. So they are lounging. I don't know if that was Dickie's southern estate there down in Georgia. Looks like a nice place. So anyway, this is a really solid album. Of course, it sounds a little like an Allman Brothers album, but there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge fan. Saw them 6 times in the 90s and 4 times in the 90s, twice in the early 2000s. Yeah, so different incarnation with Warren Haynes playing the dual guitarist with Dickie. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. But so this one comes right hot out of the gate. Out to Get Me is a great track. There's a really nice ballad closing out side 1, and that's called The Way Love Goes. The highlight on this one for me is a track called California Blues. It's track 2 on side 2 is longer jams. It's only 3 songs. Nothing You Can Do opens it up, goes into California Blues. Those 2 songs back to back. Can't recommend them enough. If you're an Allman Brothers Band fan, this is for you. It's Dickie Betts and Great Southern. All right. And let's see the name. Yeah, the year on that was 1977. So I'm also a big Rolling Stones fan. This is probably about my 16th or 17th album. I've got a lot of Stones, but I like it. This is kind of one of those records. It's a tale of 2 sides, right? So side 1 is more of a rock and roll side, and side 2, it's all heavy on the ballads, right? But side 1, man, start me up, right? You've heard it a million times, but when you hear it play through with this album, it almost sounds new again. It's just great. It's dirty rock and roll. It's the Stones, man. Hang Fire, Slave is just a slow burn, really good riff with that, the guitar riff. I love it. Little TNA, we all know what TNA means. I don't need to spell that out for you. And Black Limousine, that's a really great track. Side 1, Neighbors closes it out. It's just solid. Every song is good. And then side 2, they slow it down. Like I said, No Use in Crying and Waiting on a Friend would be the 2 ballads on there that I like. A couple of the others to me feel like a little bit fillerish, but there's, with the Stones album, there's really rarely any filler, especially around this period. I think right before this was they just followed up Emotional Rescue with this, and Some Girls was before that. So they were on a roll right there. That was a good trifecta right there with those 3 albums. So again, Tattoo You, the name of that. All right, and then what are we doing next here? Yeah, it looks like we're going to be doing some talking back to the night. So I'm a huge Steve Winwood fan. I love Traffic. I love Blind Faith. I love the Spencer Davis Group. Everything this guy touches turns to gold, right? But in the 80s, like I said, my sensibilities lean towards alternative, new wave. I was not grooving on this. Now, one record I did buy was his solo debut. I bought this probably in 9th grade, just for the one song, While You See a Chance, and the rest of it is pretty good too, and that's called Arc of a Diver. I've had this for a long time, like I said, since I was a youngster practically, but that's in really good shape, and that's a really great recording. If you're an audiophile, Arc of a Diver is a real masterpiece if you have a good system. So this was, in my opinion, kind of a weak follow-up. So like I said, the song While You See a Chance right there that opens that up. He opens this up with a song called Valerie. I mean, the production is almost identical. It's a really excellent song. It's smooth as silk, man. It's great. I mean, he's the blue-eyed soul. That term was almost coined for Steve Winwood. I mean, blue-eyed soul is this guy. He just can't sing a bad note. He plays all his own instruments on these records too. I mean, this guy, like, not that he's a control freak, he's just exceptionally gifted, right? But this album, unfortunately, is not great. I only paid a few bucks for it, and it's in very good shape, but it's just not great. But all is not lost, because the follow-up to that, I actually got this and that one the same day, right here. Yeah, and it's back in the high life, right? Nothing like being back in the high life. That's how I feel today after having those back issues. I'm back in the high life. I am back. So this is different. There's a lot of different percussion on this one. He doesn't get lazy like on that last one that I showed. It's just a lot better. So anyway, Higher Love was a very commercial hit. Opens the album up with that. And then The Finer Things was another hit on this one. But the song that's lost on this one is called Wake Me Up on Judgment Day. Try that. Really great percussion on that. There's some brilliant harmonies, almost like a church choir thing going on. Take It As It Comes is another good one on this. This is actually really good. You can play this in the background. It's not going to piss anybody off. It's not too crazy. Yeah, it's Steve Winwood solo in the 80s. I mean, power to the guy. I watched this BBC documentary several months ago and just showed him from when he was probably about 15 and he joined the Spencer Davis group that his brother was in. I forget his brother's name, his older brother. And he just killed it. He brought those guys, you know, into the limelight, and they were a huge success, all due to him, in my opinion. Plays guitar, he plays drums a little bit, but his main instrument, of course, is piano and keyboards. And of course, his windpipes, the vocals, just incredible. So anyway, that's Back in the High Life again, and that's Steve Winwood. So he did do a couple more records in the late 80s. This one was 1986. There was a bit of a gap there of 3 or 4 years between those two albums. Of course, Talking Back to the Night and Back in the High Life. Yeah, really good. All right, so yeah, here he is, the Red Rocker. It's Sammy Hagar, and it's my 3-lock box right down there in the corner. So I only knew on this one, I knew the title track, 3-lock box, and I knew, what was the other single on here? Your Love Is Driving Me Crazy. That was a top 40 hit too. This is light for Sammy Hagar. This is probably his 7th or 8th solo album since he left Montrose in the mid-70s. And it sounds like it's very radio friendly. It's a little soft for Sammy Hagar, but I only paid $4 or $5 for this, so I'll keep it. Of course, he was on the Geffen label at the time. So this was kind of a precursor. Anyway, let's see on the inside here. It's the Geffen logo. So 3-lock box. So precursor to this, which I also got this past spring, it's Hagar, Sean Aronson, and Michael Shrive on drums. Of course, Michael Shrive, of course, played with Carlos Santana at Woodstock. There he is. There's Kenny Aronson on bass, Sammy Hagar on lead vocals, and Neil Schon from Journey, of course, playing lead guitar. So yeah, this album here came out the year after this, and this rocks way harder than this does. But hey, it's not a contest. It's Sammy Hagar. He's a great singer. I'll take, you know, 3-lock box. I'll take it. I'm certainly not going to sell it. It's only worth a couple of bucks. It'll just go in the section, Sammy Hagar section, with the Montrose and all the other things, Sammy Hagar. So, yeah, so where am I here? Yeah, I'm back into the 80s here, a little 80s new wave. And what do we got here? We got Wall of Voodoo's second album, and this one's called Call of the West. This was released in 1982, of course, featuring the vocal stylings of Stan Ridgway. Really good. I've got Stan Ridgway's solo album. I'm trying to think of the name of that one. It escapes me. The Big Heat is the name of that one. So if you like this, pick up Stan Ridgway's The Big Heat. It's really good. Yeah, Camouflage was a great single from that one, but I'm talking about this one. I get off track. So anyway, it's Wall of Voodoo, and yeah, so this plays like, again, it sounds like a soundtrack for a David Lynch movie in some parts, because it's kind of it's a little dark, but it's not goth dark. It's just kind of got that. It's got like a spaghetti western feel to it, you know. If you know what that term means, you'll get what I'm talking about. Lost Weekend's good on this one. They Don't Want Me, but the big single on this one was Kicks Off Side 2. That's a song called Mexican Radio right there. So that's Wall of Voodoo, their second album. And I'm watching the inside, some kind of, looks like Stan Ridgway's apartment. I don't know, his living room maybe, who knows. Looks like we have similar decorating tastes. So that's Wall of Voodoo's second album. We're almost at the end here, folks. Thanks for hanging on. Yes, it's the vocal stylings of Paul Rogers. And the other guy here was a guy named, another Paul Kossoff on lead guitar. There's Paul down in front right there. Sadly, he died of a heroin addiction in 1975-76, but he was one of the founding members of Free with Paul Rogers. And if you like solid blues rock, this is for you, man. This is a best of. Normally don't show a lot of best of, but with Free, this is okay for me. Fire and Water kicks it off. That's the title track to, I think that might have been their debut album. I could be wrong. The Highway song on this one. The Steelers, a really great one, and I'm a Mover. That's probably the best song on this one for me, I'm a Mover. So that's Free, and again, like I said, it's the best of. Don't know the year on this, but I assume, because this was pre-Bad Company. I'm also a huge fan of Bad Company. I've shown all their stuff in videos past. But yeah, so this must have been around 1972, because Free was done at that point. Lastly, another best of. Picked this up a few weeks ago, and it's Marshall Tucker Band, If you like your Southern Fried Rock, this is good. And this is a band where I'm good on the greatest hits. I like it. These guys are from South Carolina. Can't You See is their big single. That's a classic rock radio staple. But there's some other good ones on here. This Old Cowboy, Fire on the Mountain's a really good one too. Look up a live version of Fire on the Mountain. That's really good. So there's the guys on the back there, a little silhouette. And they were just on the Capricorn label. Not much to see here, as the saying goes. So one more thing. We made it this far. I wanted to give a quick shout out too. I should have done this at the beginning. My friend JT over at JT's Record Room. He's my gentleman. He's a good man. He's a gentleman from Nevada. There's Lake Tahoe. So he was there recently. It's not too far from where he lives, I believe. So he sent me two views basically of Lake Tahoe. That looks like a beautiful, nice little beach down there. It's a perfect summer day at Lake Tahoe right there. So anyway, and this one is titled Lake Tahoe is no doubt one of the most beautiful places on earth. So I know JT will attest to that. That's why he lives there, right? He loves Nevada. I'll get there someday, and I'm going to go record shopping with JT, I hope. Lots of things to do in this life. Got a bucket list a mile long. Anyway, I've dragged it on for 20 minutes. That's probably long enough for most of you. My personality can only stretch so far, like a long elastic. So anyway, folks, I will see you with my special guest on the weekend. Look forward to that. It's going to be very entertaining. I know I'm looking forward to it. Put some thought into that one, and it's going to be great. So whatever you're doing on a Thursday, hope you're watching this video, and I'll see you next time.